June 24, 2023 was not just an election day in Sierra Leone, it was a rupture. Ballots were cast, results were declared, but certainty never arrived. What followed was not a closure, but silence, broken only by whispers of irregularities, a stern opposition, and a nation forced to move on without answers. In the echoes of disputed ballot, Sierra Leone after June 24, we go beyond headlines and official statement to examine what really happens when elections are won but trust is lost. Why did allegations never reach the court? Was the opposition's boycott an act of principle or a failure of a democratic duty? And did the so-called tripartite agreement heal the nation or merely freeze a deeper crisis in place? This is not a story about winners and losers. It is a story about legitimacy, power, and the long shadow of unresolved elections cast over governance, stability, and the road to 2028. Because when ballots are disputed and accountability is deferred, democracy does not end, it echoes.
Tonight, we revisit what happened after the vote, the allegations, the silence, the boycott, and the uneasy compromise that followed. This is the echo of disputed ballots.
Our constitution is the National Electoral Commission that declares the election victory. That has always been the case, and they are asking for a different thing today. They believe that the international community should come and declare who has won the election. The election was conducted in a free, fair, and transparent manner. But elections everywhere have never been without disputes. These are highly contentious issues everywhere in the world, including in the United States here. So if we have any problem, we all know that the courts are the best place to go. They have refused to go to the court because they don't have no locus. They don't have anything to present to the courts. Why are they going elsewhere and talking? Go to the courts.
The morning after the election, Sierra Leone felt suspended. There were no mass celebration, no swift conception, and no collective relief. Instead, rumors filled the void by delayed clarity. Videos circulated online, polling station results, tally center images, and written sheet photographs on phones. Domestic observer groups began flagging concerns early. International mission chose careful language. They were using phrases like procedural issues, restricted access, and transparency concerns. This election felt different, not because violence erupted, but because trust did. And once trust cracks, democratic legitimacy starts leaking.
Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, estimated members of the press, I am delighted, of course, to be back here in Sierra Leone again, here in Freetown, to present the European Union's Election Observation Mission's final report, and journalists provided regular reports. This was a very strong and encouraging sign. However, there were also issues that we, as a friend of Sierra Leone, observed and are imperative to address. Firstly, political violence shrank the space of political participation. This was observed by the EU Election Observation Mission in at least 6 districts. We also saw disproportionate use of force by security agencies on several occasions. Also, I want to speak about the tabulation of results that proved to be a key issue, a tipping point. The ECSL did not ensure transparency at this very crucial stage of the process. Our observers, as well as citizen observer at the tally center, could not conduct a meaningful observation of the tabulation of results. Despite repeated calls from observers, the ECSL did not publish the disaggregated result data. lack of transparency and limitation on independent scrutiny leaves space for doubt and stains an election.
As the final results were announced and the dust began to settle, celebrations erupted in some quarters, while questions deepened in others. For Dr. Samura Kamara, this was not a moment of concession, but of reflection. Amid disputed figures, observer concern, and public unease, he chose to address the nation, not with applause, but with caution. This is what Dr. Samura Kamara had to say.
APC's total rejection of the skewed, manipulated, and unverified 60% partial elections results, as announced by Mr. Mohamed Kone, Chief Electoral Commissioner. My fellow citizens, over the last 5 days, the Electoral Commission for Sierra Leone, ECSL, under the leadership of Mr. Mohamed Kone, has demonstrated a total lack of transparency and accountability in the critical stages of our electoral process. Of particular significance, Mr. Kone's handling of the tallying process flouts even the barest minimum of international best practice, dangerously undermining the peace and stability of our beloved nation. As we noted in our press releases of 26th of June 2023, condemning the skewed manner Mr. Kone presented the results of the so-called 60% polling stations tallied, the APC continues to reject Mr. Kone's lack of inclusivity, transparency, and accountability. We note the brave press statement by the National Elections Watch, NEW, and we commend them for putting nation first and for the outstanding work they have done, especially in these highly combustive elections.
There is, however, no room for complacency or despair. Here today, we are making history. Permit me to express my gratitude to the parties to the agreement, namely the government of Sierra Leone and the All People's Congress, for demonstrating a willingness to implement the agreement reached at the Bintumani dialogue. I also extend my thanks to the development partners and other moral guarantors, including the African Union, ECOWAS, and the Commonwealth, for the valuable guidance during the negotiations. It is through such collaboration and dialogue that we can strive to address the political interests and welfare of our people.
Section 46, subsection 1 of the Sierra Leone Constitution, a person elected shall assume office on the day he is declared elected, after taking and subscribing before Parliament and the oath of office and the oath of allegiance as prescribed in the third schedule. For President Julius Maada Bio, this was no time to waste. Listen.
Julius Maada Bio.
After a hard-fought election, President Julius Maada Bio is back in office for another 5 years. But he will be leading a nation more divided than it was before the election, something that's not lost on the former Army General.
It is time for us to join hands in blurring the lines drawn during the spirited campaign season and reunite as one united family, proud members of the Sierra Leone nation.
The oath of office was administered soon after the declaration of results by the Electoral Commission.
I hereby certify that Bio Julius Maada, having polled 1,566,932 of the valid vote cast, representing 56.17% of the total valid vote cast, in the 24th June 2023 presidential election, duly elected President of the Republic.
That sent his supporters across the country into wild celebrations. From the presidential palace to the streets, even the wet weather isn't a deterrent for the president's supporters.
The main opposition party has rejected the outcome of the election, calling it a sad day for democracy. Its presidential candidate has vowed to keep fighting for Sierra Leone. Attention is now being focused on the supporters of the party and how they receive the outcome of this election.
For now, though, the streets remain calm but tense, and most people here just want to get on with their lives. Ahmed Idris, Al Jazeera, Freetown.
That's what we believe. So finally, waiting the people of Sierra Leone, everybody attention day to waiting would be the outcome of this dialogue. Waiting them for expect.
I think they will expect we will have a strengthened democratic process. As a country, we've done a lot. I speak about the Peace Commission, the Truth and Reconciliation spoke about the Peace Commission, which came from the Lomé Peace Accord, which then shaped the National Consultative Dialogue in 2020, which established the Peace Commission. And now today, it's brought us here. That's a big positive thing. At the end of this is not a baby organization. 3 years, now they engaged the international organization and they so we as a people should be proud of what we've built, and I think this is not a small thing. There are many countries who can't do what we've been able to do, and to be resilient and come together in spite of our differences, and it's being shepherded by the 3-year-old organization that we put together that came from previous recommendations. So as a people, I think there will be pride in what we've been able to accomplish as a country. I anticipate that the opposition will go to Parliament. I anticipate that the councils, they will take up their responsibility. I anticipate that there will be a lot more inclusive engagement in governance across various, like this independent review of the electoral bodies or the constitutional review process. We need a position for the Parliament. You can't have that constitutional review that we so need as a country that we've not been able to finish for 20 years without the opposition, and because we also have to go to a referendum anyway, and that includes everybody, so we'll need them to debate in Parliament those laws, take responsibility for it, pass them in Parliament with a 2/3 majority. We'll require them because we don't have that, so we require them and their votes. We hope that all of them will support these processes, and then we'll go to a referendum and the people of the country will be happy and Sierra Leone will be better for it.
You hopeful say at the end of these 3 days they will return to governance?
Absolutely. I think we will. It's a big moment for the country, and I think I'm happy they've stepped up to the plate. I think we are very positive. They're very positive. The fact that they are great. It's not a loss if they come to Parliament. And then when I met the opposition member, they made it and say, "Oh, APC don't lose." So this it's not a loss. It's not a win for us if they come to Parliament. Sierra Leone wins when they can participate, and I think that's the most important message. Is that my APC headline and not say, "Oh, then Samurai don't go this, Samurai don't do that." Oh, then don't go allowed. No, we want there to be a fully comprehensive government running.
Sierra Leone did not collapse after June 24, but it did not heal either. The ballots were counted. The agreement was signed. The political class moved on, but the questions remain unanswered, uninvestigated, unresolved. And in a democracy, unresolved questions do not disappear. They accumulate. What happens when elections produce governments, but not consent? When stability is declared, yet trust is absent? When accountability is postponed in the name of peace? As the 2028 approaches, Sierra Leone stands at a crossroads. One path leads to reform, transparency, and the courage to confront uncomfortable truth. The other leads to repetition, another election, another dispute, another agreement, another generation taught to lower its expectations. This commentary is not an accusation. It's a record, a warning, and an invitation. Because democracy does not survive on ballots alone. It survives on truth, accountability, and the willingness to confront the past before asking the future to believe again. The echoes are still here. The question is whether Sierra Leone will finally listen. Sierra Leone did not collapse after June 24, but it did not heal either. The ballots were counted. The agreement was signed. The political class moved on, but the questions remain unanswered, uninvestigated, unresolved. And in a democracy, unresolved questions do not disappear. They accumulate. What happens when elections produce governments, but not consent? When stability is declared, yet trust is absent? When accountability is postponed in the name of peace? As the 2028 approaches, Sierra Leone stands at a crossroads. One path leads to reform, transparency, and the courage to confront uncomfortable truth. The other leads to repetition, another election, another dispute, another agreement, another generation taught to lower its expectations. This commentary is not an accusation. It's a record, a warning, and an invitation. Because democracy does not survive on ballots alone. It survives on truth, accountability, and the willingness to confront the past before asking the future to believe again. The echoes are still here. The question is whether Sierra Leone will finally listen.